Hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Now you may recognize this truck, which is my $850 Supercharged Range Rover that I've been rebuilding. In the previous video in the series, we replaced the rear bumper, a damaged fender, and a broken window before we got it back on the road. I'm happy to say that it's now back on the road legally after a successful salvage inspection, so let me get you caught up on that process. After finishing the rebuild, the last step before getting the truck back on the road was to get the salvage inspection done. With an appointment set, all our paperwork ready, and all our rebuild work documented, we drove it to the inspection station. They checked everything over, and it passed. The process is different in each state, but if you want to hear more about how it's done in New Jersey, let me know in the comments. The next stops were the MVC to get it registered and plated, then a regular New Jersey inspection, and we're all set. So with that, we have two Range Rovers we rescued and got back on the road. They make a nice pair, though you'll notice the full-size Range Rover sits really high. Part of that is the oversized tires, but it turns out that wasn't the only thing. If you're interested in a set of 255/60 R20 Goodyear Wranglers, let me know, because I ended up going back to stock rubber. So I got new tires that are the factory spec. Should have a little bit better clearance in the wheel wells, which is good, because the other ones were huge. But while doing that, I realized that the height sensor links are aftermarket, and these are for a 2.5-inch lift. Probably to fit those big tires that were on here before. So I'm actually going to remove these and replace them with the factory arms, which I got off the parts truck, even though it was converted to coils. The sensors were still there, and the arms were still there. So as you can see, these are metal arms. They have little rubber grommets on the ends to pop on to the sensor itself, and the little bit at the bottom there. So I'll be pulling those off, probably lubricate them first, pop them off. Now back here, it's the same thing. We actually took this off while we were working on the link. And it's the same thing, you can pop them off. You have to do it carefully so you don't damage anything in there. But yeah, that's where it lives. And it's the same thing on both sides. So we'll lubricate it, move the arm, pop it on, and we'll be good. This is what the factory style look like. Just be careful when you remove them, because the rubber can get fragile and tear, and you want to avoid that. This is all rubber from here down here, and this is a plastic piece. This here is the difference. It's actually looks pretty small here, but because of the way things are designed, it does make a big difference at the wheel. So just to get an idea of the length, it's really minor. It's like maybe a 1/2 inch. Let's get the factory one on. I'm gonna put a little bit of lubricant in there, but it does go this way on here and then on the bottom, so I'll probably do the top first. Put that on. Put that on down there. There we go. That's it. We'll do the same on the other side. Now let's go do one on the back. Here you can see the factory one on the left. The length difference is also just maybe a 1/2 inch also. But it's enough to make a big difference at the right height. Same thing on this side. It goes in straight, both from the same side. I put it on the arm first. I'll put a little bit of lubricant in here. This side's done. That's done there. And this is with the factory size tires, factory height sensor rods. It actually sits level now. This is at the standard height. It used to sit a little higher in the front, and you'll actually see that in pictures from companies that make lift kits. The front is a little bit higher, but yeah, it's looking good. Before I went back to the stock ride height and tires, the truck felt like it was aligned pretty well, but now that it's lowered back down, the alignment is way out of spec. The steering wheel isn't centered anymore, and it feels a little unsettled on the road, so let's see if I can align it myself. Now the first thing I'm going to do, because I'm essentially going to be working on the ground to align this truck, is to get it in the air, and I'm going to loosen our camber bolt and nut right here. So this is for our camber, and then our toe is that bolt and nut up there. So you'll probably remember I had to replace this because it was bent. And on the other side, it's the same thing. I don't really think this side is gonna have any issues, but because it was untouched in the accident, but you never know. So back there and right here. Get these loose. Then what we'll do is we'll align it, mark it, and then get it back up in the air. And once it's back in the air, we'll torque it to spec. Now up front, we're probably only gonna have to worry about toe, and that is the tie rods right here, and same thing on the other side. So spray PV blaster, and hopefully it'll come free pretty easily when it's time. These are actually pretty easily accessible when the truck's on the ground. The rear is a little more difficult to reach. Now our camber adjustment is 21 on this side and 18 on the other. What we're gonna need to do is break that free. Put this on this side.
And here you can really see how the camber adjustment works.
I already know it needs to come out this way, so I'm gonna get it started there.
Now on the toe adjustment bolt, it's normally 18 on one side and 21 on the other, but this is a newer spec bolt and it's 21 on both sides in this case. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side.
Okay. Now if it's good, I will leave it like that. See if I turn this, will it move? Okay, now we gotta do the nut and bolt back there, because it's 18 on the other side. It's 21 on this side. Yep. So you think, how the hell am I gonna loosen this? Ugh. Okay. To make a little more room, I disconnected the level sensor so I can pivot it down and get to the 18mm bolt. This right here, a little better. So let's see if we can break it free.
It turns out the nut was pretty seized on, so I ended up having to use some heat to break it free. I used an induction heater and heated it, let it cool off, heated again, sprayed some PV blaster on it, and heated it again. And that made it a lot easier. I was able to break the nut free with just a wrench once I did that.
Okay, so while the truck was in the air, I broke the tie rods free. Now, our next step is to put the wheels on turntables, which is going to be 2 vinyl tiles and between them some grease, so it should spin pretty easily. That'll allow the fronts to turn in place. And what I'm going to use is this quite old alignment machine that I have. So we're going to see how we get by with this. And I'll show you a little more about it once everything's in place. But first, let's get our front wheels on our little pads. This here will be good. Well, hopefully it'll work. Make it up, set up the other one. Okay. Whoa, okay. That feels good. Not quite there on this side, huh? Let's do it again. That's pretty far forward, huh? Okay, that's not ideal. Let's keep going. We'll try again. Looks good. I've propped the door open because we don't want the truck to settle. Let's stay at the height, and it shouldn't adjust the suspension height while the door is open. So we're in position. We can keep going. All right, so I'm gonna preface this with, I've never done it before, but it should work. So this is one of the front sensors. Essentially hooks on the rim. We need a lot more length here, so adjust that. Hopefully it'll do 20 inch. Please do 20 inches. Okay, good. Now we want to align these hooks. Alright, do the same thing back here and on the other side. Obviously you can do this with string and other setups, but I had a really good opportunity to grab this set. So it should make it a little easier.
If you ever get your hands on a set like this, be careful with the metal hooks to grip the rim because it can scratch the rim a little bit.
Okay. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the way this works is a sensor here that communicates with the one on the other side, and then here, and here. So each side gets connected together and connects to the control unit. So it's probably going to be one from there to here, and then there's a second plug. They'll relay it down to there, and same thing on the other side. Let me get that plugged in. This is our old Celeron 366 with 32 megabytes of RAM, running Windows 98. You might recognize some of these sounds. Now, I'm not doing any screen capture because this is too old. Keyboard error. Oh, jeez. Okay. It wasn't plugged in enough. Ta-da! What a throwback. Oh, I gotta turn this machine on too. So what we're using is Winalign 32-bit. Alright, we're gonna begin alignment. Let's see. Yeah, you could do a DeLorean. Also, through 2015, so that is pretty exciting. Range Rover. Nope. Yep. We're doing a Range Rover. 07 to 09? Wow, I guess it changed after 2006. Oh, right, the BMW. Oh, I guess this was the transition year. Wow, we can even go to 2016. Actually, 0405 goes beyond that, I think, but supercharged, alright. Yep, I did that. Okay. Sensor requires compensation. Remove the pins from the turnplates and sit place. Lower and jams the vehicle. Okay, sensor is not connected, not turned on. That's powered on. Okay, let's learn. Okay, that's on. That's on. Red. What does that mean? That's green. Let me guess. Oh, this one's green too. Okay.
It turned out unplugging the cable and plugging it back in fixed the connection issue.
Let me look up what this means because we're learning here. Alright, so what I have to do here is compensate the heads. And to do that, I actually have to lift the wheel so I could turn it. So go in 3 steps as it's marked on here. Press it, turn the wheel, press it, press the button again, turn it again, essentially into thirds. And that will teach the sensor and the system how far off the center of the hub I am. So if this isn't perfectly centered on the hub, it'll compensate for that. Now, some people like to lock it level first. Okay. Unlock it, and you turn the wheel. Oh, jeez. Gotta put it in neutral, maybe? Gotta make sure it's chucked. Oh, okay. Sensor is okay. Excellent. I gotta do the same thing on the rear and on the other side. And I guess, technically, if I had more plates like that, I could probably jack it up on the quick jacks, bring it up, do that all around, put it back down. But alright, so I'll be back when I've done all the others. So this is the part where I'm supposed to say, with all the alignment heads compensated, we could start aligning the truck. But it didn't work out that way. I worked my way around the truck and the heads were calibrating just fine. And when I got to the last one, it wouldn't go into the compensation calibration mode. My first thought was, okay, it's powered on and communicating with the computer, but the button isn't working. That's not a huge deal. I can probably rig something up without too much trouble. I opened it up, and it turns out the ribbon cable for the button and LEDs is a little finicky, but I still can't get the button to work. I was able to figure out which wires to jump to make a button press, but it still wouldn't work. Then I swapped the front panel off one of the other heads to see if that would work, and nope, no dice. As it turns out, the alignment head seems to have 2 issues. The button doesn't work, which is not a huge deal, but even with the functioning button, it doesn't go into the calibration mode. This is as far as we can go on our alignment adventure for now. I've tightened the toe bolts, the camber bolts, and the tie rods back up so it's safe to move, and I can move on to another project while I get the parts to fix the alignment machine. Now, you may be asking, why is this a video? You didn't really accomplish anything. Well, the point of this channel is to show you what it's really like to work on these cars yourself, and that's just how it goes sometimes when working on cars. No matter how well you plan, no matter what tools you have, things sometimes go wrong, and sometimes your tools break. It's all part of the process. I'm going to see if I can figure out if there's any obvious issue with the electronics, but DIY alignments are on hold for now. If you have any experience with Hunter DSP-250 alignment heads and have any suggestions, let me know. I think I'm also going to be on the lookout for a new set, so I have some spares. We didn't make as much progress as I had hoped, but I hope you still enjoyed the video. If you've been held up on a project by tools, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see if I'll ever be able to align my own vehicles. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.